This is Capital Games Movie Club. I am the Wiz.
And I'm Kim Shactman.
Kim, how are you today?
Good. How we doing?
I'm doing okay. Kim, we decided to do, well, really you decided to do That Thing You Do this week because I thought it would have been nice, because it was my turn, let's be fair, to choose a movie. So I was like, well, Kim, what are you in the mood for? You're like, That Thing You Do, bitch. I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. Wow. And for those of you who met Kim and she's such a nice person, she can get aggressive. Like, she can get aggressive.
Yes,
so
I've been told that.
I know better from the years I've known her to just let it happen. And I'm like, okay, fine, we're doing That Thing We Do. Okay, good, fine. So we are doing That Thing You Do, the musical comedy from 1996, starring Liv Tyler, Everett Scott, Johnathan Schaech, Steve Zahn, and Ethan Embry. Written and directed by one Tom Hanks. Do you know a little bit about how this got made?
I do not.
Okay.
And I was kind of looking up Tom Hanks's other movies, like that he's directed or written.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really know. I've never really seen many of them. The only thing I saw that he's written was actually a TV miniseries called Band of Brothers.
Yes, he was also the principal producer of that series. That didn't get made. That was a series that HBO didn't want to do at first, but it needed to have Steven Spielberg to be attached to it, as well as Tom Hanks being a big part of it in order for it to work out. He also did From the Earth to the Moon as well.
Band of Brothers was excellent.
Yes, it was.
Excellent series. But yeah, I digress.
No,
that's really all I've seen from him.
The story with this movie specifically is that he wrote this movie, as he says it, out of pure boredom. He was actually doing promotional work for Forrest Gump in 1994, and he was doing a lot of it, actually, at the time, and out of boredom from being in all these interviews that he had to do, he decided, oh, okay, you know what? I'm just going to write a movie just to keep myself occupied, and this is the fruits of that labor. He didn't really direct another movie until Larry Crown in 2011, and there is a reason why that is, and I will get into that to a certain... Well, I should just get into it right now. That Thing You Do did not do well in the box office. It also didn't do so hot critically either. A lot of people, a lot of critics, at the time, Tom Hanks was a big name. He was getting awards. His movies were making money. And you know how the story is. Once you go up, you must go down. And a lot of people were thinking that the failure of That Thing You Do was going to lead to his downfall, which really didn't happen. I don't think it's ever happened, really, if we're going to be absolutely honest on this. But he didn't direct another movie until, like I said, Larry Crown, which didn't do well either. So I was actually kind of surprised. I thought this was the only movie that he directed and written. But, well, I mean, he also wrote Greyhound for Apple TV Plus as well. So I didn't know that either.
Huh.
But, yeah, I think we all know who Tom Hanks is at this point. Very popular actor, was a comedic actor beforehand, and then went into drama and really hit it out of the park. Really did a good job with his dramatic roles. So when he was, and basically he got this project because of him being Tom Hanks. And a lot of the problems that stemmed from this movie not doing well is mainly the marketing made it seem like Tom Hanks was in the movie a lot more than he was, and that he was a much more central character. Because they would, in all the advertisements, they would plaster Tom Hanks in, Tom Hanks written, directed by, Tom Hanks starring in. And as you know, Kim, since you've seen this plenty of times, he's barely in the movie. He's not in the movie that much at all.
He's not in the movie much. More towards the end of the movie, actually.
Yeah, and with this character, he's not a likable person at all in this movie either. So when that started going around, that he's barely in the movie, not many people went out to see it in the theaters in this, which I would say is kind of a shame to a certain extent, because as much as I'll criticize the movie, it's a fun movie. So it was a shame that...
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think it's so fun. It's also like, the first thing too I looked at, I was like, oh wow, like what is this rated? This is rated, it's a PG movie.
Yeah.
Like it's a fun, upbeat PG movie.
Which when it's a PG movie nowadays, it's usually a kid's movie with maybe a little bit of edge to it. Okay, well, we got down to that aspect. Let's just get into what we think about That Thing You Do, the 1996 musical comedy. Kim, go ahead. Let's since you decided you wanted to do this movie, and this is one of your favorites, let's just go right into it. What do you like about the movie?
I think it's kind of obvious, right, for most people. It's the music, right? The music in this movie makes it what it is. Catchy tunes, and it just brings it to life. Like without the music, it would just be kind of a shit movie, right? Like if you think about it,
right?
When I was a kid, I've watched this movie over and over and over again, and I actually owned the soundtrack to the movie because I loved the music so much.
Oh wow, okay.
I was a huge fan of all the songs in the music and within the movie. But I think I like it too because I'm kind of drawn to like the 60s. I really love like how it was a little bit more of a simpler time. There isn't really as much technology. And at some point in my life, I really wish I grew up in the 60s. And I think that music then was made by hand and not made by synthesizers and voiceovers. Even though in this movie, they actually didn't record all the songs themselves. It was actually, I think it was dubbed over, I think. Yes, for the most part. But still, the music was great, right? Like, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it may have won an award for.
It did not win. It didn't win an Oscar. It got nominated for an Oscar for Best Song. For the title song.
Nominated, thank you.
Yes, it lost to Evita that year. Ugh.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah. I think
I thought was kind of a bummer because I definitely like the music better than Evita.
Yeah. Well, Evita is a different beast entirely. Whereas this was a pop. That Thing You Do is pop songs. Evita is Broadway musicals. So the songs are like 6 and 7 minutes, and they have to convey a story within the song. So that's a little bit different. So I'll give it some fairness on that end. But I think you're right on this end that the music is very good, especially the title song. It is important that the title song is good in this movie because you have to believe that this song could be as popular as it is. And I think the thing that I guess caught me when I watched it again last night was that the actual song is very good. It is a very catchy, very enjoyable tune to an extent. But it also is a song that, as the movie goes forward, it kind of dies and it kind of loses its luster a bit. Like when you hear it over and over again, like a lot of good songs, you kind of get tired of it. Which is a good thing that the song isn't played in its entirety over and over and over again throughout the movie. They do bits and pieces, and they do stings in that. So I think that's a good thing too. But the music, I think, is very good in this to an extent. I actually agree with you with the 60s when it comes to music. 50s, 60s, maybe a little bit of the 70s. If there's one thing that I am jealous of when it comes to my parents or older people, is that I think their music is so much better than the music is nowadays.
Incredible.
Like
it's just a whole different ballgame.
There are people like in my age who are like, "Oh, I love 2000s rap or 1990s pop and this and that." I'm like, it's nothing compared to Motown. It is nothing compared to 60s. It's just like it's not even fair. It's not even fair. But then again, I could also sit here and say that a lot of older movies from before I was even born are incredible movies compared to what was around my time. So yeah, I can argue with people that 10 Things I Hate About You is a great movie, which I don't think it is, but whatever. I'm not going to get into it. That's
Hey, I enjoyed that movie.
I did too, but people greatly overrate it. Like, especially.
But again, it's similar to That Thing You Do, right? Like it's a fun, comedic movie. Like, it has a lot of humor in it, and it's just fun. Like, it's a fun movie. That's really all it comes down to. we're not saying like the writing was superb or the directing was amazing. It was there, and it was for your quick entertainment, and that was that.
Yeah, it's a very standard film. It is
Right.
it basically, if you were going through the plot line, it's the basic rise to fame plot line where they have a hit song, they get really popular, and then the downfall. And that's a lot of these types of movies when it comes to the star that becomes big and then goes and crashes down. It's the same story that has been done over and over again. So we've gotten to writing and directing. Let's go to directing real quick. Very standard directing, like very standard. I'm actually kind of surprised that this might be a little harsh. I was kind of surprised because I didn't even look this up because I was like sure that Tom Hanks never directed again. It's a Charles Lawton situation, and my thought was, well, he directed a movie that did not make its money back. Like it didn't do well in the box office, so that was enough for a studio exec to say, no, we're not giving you another movie. But then you remind me he wrote and directed a couple of things of Band of Brothers, From the Earth to the Moon. I think he also did the Pacific. I'm not entirely sure.
He did do the Pacific.
He did? Yep. Okay. So he did a lot of TV. So and those were very popular at the time. So that I get. I was surprised to hear he did Larry Crown, but Larry Crown did not do well either on this end.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
The direction in this, again, is really standard. But then again, it would be really weird to have different types of camera flourishes or something very avant-garde in a movie that is so standard and has to rely on the performances of the principal actors to get it through. I think it's fine for what it is, but it's nothing to write home about. It's not offensive, it's not bad, but it's just shot the way it was, and then that's it. Done.
Yeah, it's very basic.
Yes, definitely.
Basic and simple. And that's really all it comes down to. And I personally think the same thing with the writing.
Yes.
Right? Like overall, I think the movie is just a simple movie.
Yeah.
I must say that I really like something that I like about this is the tempo of the story. Like I didn't find many moments in the film that were drawn out. Mm-hmm. And I didn't find any slow points throughout the movie. Like it was just very balanced. And that's something that I did love about it. Because sometimes you get to some points and you're just like, okay, like what's going to happen now? Like this is getting to be a little bit drawn out. I'm getting a little bit bored with this film. But I think it was just, they went through the storyline pretty quickly, but it was balanced enough to enjoy it.
It goes through a decent clip, absolutely. When I look this up on Google, because what I like to do is in order to find out where it's streaming, I Google it. And when I saw that Google had it at a clock time of 2 hours and 35 minutes.
Right.
And
it doesn't feel like that.
But it's not. It's an hour and 55.
Oh.
Google got it wrong. I was
going to say, because I Googled it too, and I was like, this is not 2 hours. Like, I watched it, and I was like, this is pretty quick. And the reason why I know it's a really great tempo is because my husband loves this movie, and he has a really short attention span when it comes to watching films.
Uh-oh.
So for him to stay engaged when watching, a movie that's over an hour, it's a hit to me because he sat through the whole thing and he can quote the movie. He's seen it numerous times, so that's a big deal.
Okay. So what you're telling me is if I have you watch any Andrei Tartakovsky, it's best to just keep your husband out. Is what you're telling me.
What is that?
Andrei Tartakovsky, he's a Russian director. His films are very slow, very meandering, but there's a reason why that they're very slow. He's done movies like Stalker and Solaris, very good movies, but they're slow. They are really slow.
Hubby would not watch those whatsoever.
Okay. You know what? There are some people that like a quick, clippy kind of movie, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But yeah. Right, no, you're absolutely right. The pace of the movie, I think, is to its strength. Because it's to its detriment too, but I think it's better off that way because there is really not much depth to what's going on in the movie. So all you have to do is just let these kids do what they're doing, and then you're set.
Right. Exactly.
So let us get into performances, which I think is the most important thing in this movie, where I think this works. The interesting thing about these performances, I think, maybe with the exception of Charlize Theron, who's in this like for a little bit, is these actors, I think, give their best performances in their careers, which I find maybe I'll give Liv Tyler the exception, maybe.
I'm not a huge Liv Tyler fan. I mean, I thought she was good in this movie for what it was, but I don't particularly love her.
God, do I really want to say Armageddon was her best performance? Because it's kind of an insult too. Okay.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
So let's get to the four principal actors, which is Johnathan Schaech, Tom Everett Scott, Stephen Zahn, and Ethan Embry. Tom Everett Scott gives a good performance. This is his first movie, I think. Let me just double check.
Is it?
I believe it is. And these guys are
young.
Yeah.
Oh, he looks so young in it.
These guys are still acting, by the way. They're still getting work, which is good, but they're not getting big work. I think the last thing I remember Tom Everett Scott in was he was in La La Land for the last minute of the movie.
Yep.
And that was about it for him. Let me see. That Thing You Do was his first movie, and then he was in 5 episodes of Grace Under Fire, and then he did An American Werewolf in Paris. I remember that movie. Ugh. He did not have that great of a career. I mean, all right, well, to be fair,
I don't know. I think that's too bad. I really liked him in That Thing You Do.
He's not bad, but he is the standard likable guy who just so happens to be the linchpin that gets this running to a certain extent. So he's got a standard role, but he is meant to be likable. He's meant to be the emotional, mature center with all the other guys, because you have Schaech's character, who is the arrogant talent, and then you have Zahn, who's the goofball, and then you have Embry, who is just there, essentially.
Right. That's what. Well, they make a joke in the kind of in the movie, like he doesn't have a name.
No, he doesn't. No,
he's just the bass player.
Yeah, pretty much. Tom Everett Scott was good in this, but I think he was the right pick to do this movie, to do this role, because it's funny. This is Tom Hanks needed convincing to get Tom Everett Scott in the movie. He did not want him at first, and it took his wife to finally convince him that he was the right person in the role.
Oh.
The role in this. So you want to know who the first one they hired?
Yeah, who?
Charlize Theron.
Oh my God, that is too funny.
Yeah.
And she's not even in the movie that long.
Nope, not at all. So to understand too at times, with some movies, the script that they write isn't exactly used from front to back all the time. When they do the script, and sometimes they have a working script that if you really just do the entire script, it's like 3 to 4 hours long. So then you would have to cut a bunch of stuff to get to the runtime you need. And it could very well have been that Charlize Theron's character had much more of a plot line as the movie went on. And then as the time goes on, she was just cut more and more and more and more during the editing process.
I could see that happening.
So that could have been a possibility too. So yeah, I like Tom Everett Scott in this. He was good, but you know,
I thought the role was I thought his character, like you said, fit his look and his personality.
Yes, absolutely. You want to know why Tom Hanks decided he didn't want to use him?
Why?
Because he thought he looked too much like his sons.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Johnathan Schaech, who played Jimmy in this, I mean, he plays a good arrogant character, I guess, but other than that, he's fine.
Yeah, but right from the get-go, you can tell he's the serious musician.
Right.
You know, and I feel like that's not really a hard character to play.
To make it believable, it can be kind of difficult, but again, the script doesn't offer much other than you're the mean guy in this. You're the heavy. You're the person that, and then you have to use Liv Tyler's Faye as the board.
Yeah.
To show how much of an arrogant SOB you are in this. So let's get to Liv Tyler. She's fine. I'm kind of with you. I've never been too impressed with Liv Tyler.
The problem with me with Liv Tyler is when I think of Liv Tyler, all I think of is Armageddon. And I didn't even like love her in that. It's just all I think of.
I got it a little worse. The only thing I think about are the Aerosmith songs that she was in the video.
Well, yeah, that too.
But I think most people will recognize her in Lord of the Rings because she was the main love interest to the main character in Lord of the Rings.
Yes, I've seen a few episodes of Lord of the Rings, I think the first movie. I don't know. I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, well, the first movie, I'm gonna perform sacrilege here by saying this. The first movie to me was boring. Like first movie,
that's why I couldn't get into it.
I watched it in the theaters and was just like, it's just a bunch of walking. And I get it's supposed to.
So true.
But it's supposed to build up to what's going on because the next two movies are actually excellent. They're really good. But the other thing too that I found interesting, I bought the extended versions of the Lord of the Rings movies, and of the extended versions, Fellowship is my favorite.
All right, I guess I'll give them another try since you're telling me.
Yeah, do you really want it? I don't know.
No, not really. Yeah, but anyways.
See, you lie to me like this, and it breaks my heart.
I'll try.
Don't lie to me, okay?
Okay, I'm not gonna fucking watch the movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. Honey, we're gonna watch Lord of the Rings. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, my husband would be like, hell no.
Okay. Ethan Embry. I mean, I've never liked Ethan Embry. But then again, a lot of movies that he's done, I have not liked. I hate the movie Empire Records with an undying passion.
I know you hate that movie. You mentioned that to me like right away.
Movie.
You're like, I fucking hate that movie. I mean, I don't know. Like everybody loves it, but I don't
get it.
I don't really care about it. Like I'm like, it's okay. I'd rather watch That Thing You Do than Empire Records.
That I agree with you with. But like oh god. Ugh. The fact that people make it into a mini holiday. I forget what the exact holiday is. Is it Rex Chapman Day or whatever? I don't know. And every time I'm like, oh my god, my heart hurts. Why do you guys like this movie? So like, I get it. You know, people like their different movies. Fine, I get it. I get it to a certain extent, but that movie specifically is just like, ugh. Anyway,
I don't know. It didn't leave a lasting impression on me, so that's how I know I just don't really care about it.
Yeah.
I must say though, so I know this isn't a film, but he's in Grace and Frankie, the TV series. That's like one of the newer series out, and he's pretty good in that.
Yeah, I've heard he's good. I haven't seen a lot of the films that he's in. Like I'm looking at some of the movies. Like he's been in Disturbing Behavior, which is I didn't like Can't Hardly Wait. The Prophet 2 was terrible. Vegas Vacation was horrible. White Squall was bad. Like I'm looking at a lot of the films he was in, and Sweet Home Alabama was okay. I think
that was okay.
He played the gay friend in that, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if I'm looking at like a lot of the films that he was in, I'm like, I guess that might be the issue I have is the films that he was in that I just did not like. But I particularly have not liked him at all. But he's okay in this. But that's also because he doesn't really, his role isn't really as prominent as the others. Like it's kind of just, like you said, he's just there. He doesn't even have a name. He's wallpaper. He's wallpaper. Yeah. That's it.
But he's kind of quirky and funny, and we'll get to that a little bit in the spoilers. But yeah.
Yeah. And then I think the best performance in the movie is Steven Zahn.
Oh my god. I love him. I just love him in general.
Steve Zahn, I think, is really entertaining, really funny in this. And
extremely.
Yeah. And it's kind of, I mean, he's had a good career. He's done a lot of independent movies. He's done a lot of independent comedies that he's more known for. I would have, but he's also done things like Sahara, Joyride. He was in Rescue Dawn. He's done some dramatic stuff too. But he's more known, I think he's more popular with independent crowds when it comes to comedies, because he does a lot of quirky comedies on top of that. So But he was actually very good in this. I think he's the highlight of the movie in this. And he also has like some of the best lines.
The best lines.
Yes, he
Those
does.
are the lines we quote night and day, my husband and I.
We're not the Wonders, we're Captain Cheech and the Shrimp Shack Shooters.
Oh my god, he's so funny. He's so funny. Like, Lenny's going fishing.
Yeah. No, he's married. How you doing?
Yeah. He's just so good.
Oh yeah, he's great, and that's a role that at any point, if it was somebody else or if someone with a lesser talent, would have been pretty annoying to deal with. But he's got that right mix of like, not like, I guess the right mix of silliness and likability that just works really well with the role. But again, if you had somebody else, it could have been really annoying. But he's really good as Lenny.
He's really charming too in it. Like, he's just charming.
You believe that Playboy Playmate would want to marry him?
Oh, it's so funny. It's hilarious.
And I guess that the last person to talk about is Tom Hanks in this. He's barely in this. And when he's in it, he is the standard nondescript agent in this. Where
I like his character, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I do. I like his character, and I'll tell you why when we get to spoilers, but I do like his character a lot. Okay. I think with the writing, I just really like, and again, this goes hand in hand with the 60s, just the innocence of the characters. It just fits the time, but that's kind of a given with the era it's supposed to be.
So let's get into spoilers. If you haven't watched That Thing You Do and you want to, you can stop this and come back when you're ready. We're going to get into spoilers for That Thing You Do in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I honestly don't have much to provide on this because it's gonna sound like it sounds like I'm shit talking, but there's not much depth. There's not much depth to chew into in this. So if you want to get into spoilers in certain aspects of the movie, go right ahead. So what do you want to talk about?
Okay, so I'll tell you one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when they first hear their song on the radio.
Yes, that was good.
I think that scene is so fun. The excitement of them accomplishing something as young as they were, and just the shock and awe of it. And then, like, you know, when they're in the father's appliance store and they're dancing around and the father's like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's just such almost like an inspiring moment in the film. And it just brought me so much joy. And that's one of my favorite scenes, actually.
It's probably, it probably is one of my favorite scenes, too, in the movie. And it's actually done very well, and that Faye was the first person to do it because she's like licking a stamp and she almost swallows it. Yeah. She's like and she's the cheerleader of the band. Right. Which she's makes sense. She's the groupie without all the sex. Yes. Poor girl. But, well, actually, I think she's better off. Anyway, let's get back. Let's back. Anyway. But yeah, like that scene is really well done in that way, and you believe it too in the characters as well. I definitely and you know who wasn't there? I don't think Jimmy was there in that scene, was he? Oh, I don't think he was either. Now that you say that, now I want to go back and watch it again. Okay. Well. I know you won't, but no, I've had enough. No, I love that scene. One scene that I do not love is when they are first introduced to Tom Hanks, and I think which is their agent, I think it's because they show them kind of going to Pittsburgh to play their first large show in front of like a huge crowd, and it turns into a shit show, right? Like their mics aren't working, things are falling over, like the crowd's like, what the hell is going on? The other performers are pissed off at them. And then like the very next scene is like them meeting with like this hotshot agent, Tom Hanks, to sign them to this huge record deal, right? Okay. But at the same time, I guess it kind of fits because maybe back then, and I don't really know because I'm not in the music business, but maybe these larger companies or labels want to pick up the underdog to then mold them into stars or famous people that they want them to be. So I guess it kind of makes sense, but I just thought it was interesting how they meet him like right after they have an awful show. Well, Mr. White also says in that I don't think he actually watched the show. but he's basing it on the LP that he got from his manager at the time.
Right.
So, I guess, but like...
You know what I'm saying? Like, I almost think they could have... Like, it's almost like too quick. You know, like, okay, like, you play one show with this manager, and then you're all of a sudden going to Playtone, which is supposed to be this big, gigantic label, like, on the West Coast. Like, it just seemed weird to me. So,
okay. I guess I understand what you're saying. Let me counter it for one thing, okay? You mentioned the pacing at the beginning of the episode. True. How it's quick, and it goes by fast, and it doesn't give you enough time to dwell. For that to work, where it didn't feel, I guess, as awkward, you'd have to have at least 15 to 20 minutes of time where they're struggling, where they have to find their way in the state area. How are you going to make that quick and clippy and make that work as well as it's working throughout the entirety of the film without showing the guys struggling or having issues or drama or something that will slow down the pace of the movie?
That's true.
So,
that is true.
I get what you're saying to a certain extent on that, and I can't believe I'm defending this movie. But I get what you're saying.
I think maybe like I'm thinking it more as like it's not as realistic, maybe. But again, it's a movie, right? Like,
I mean, yeah.
Like, I think it takes. I mean, at least today, now in the music biz, like, it takes a lot of time before you get signed, right? Like, before you get signed with this big label.
But this is also in the 60s.
Right, that's what I mean. Like,
yeah, so
things could be different.
Right. I get what you're saying, that they got the big contract after they bombed in the city, which, okay, I mean...
But at the same time, like, and again, like, to counter myself, you know, Mr. White could be looking at them as like, okay, these are underdogs, and I'm going to clean them up, and I'm going to make them famous.
Which is exactly what he tried to do. Right.
And I mean, he did, right? He did. They were famous. They had a #1 hit for, X amount of weeks. And I really loved Mr. White. And the reason I did is because you have to keep in mind, like, these are young kids, like, probably straight out of high school, navigating this huge talent that they have. And I almost think of him as not just the agent, but a little bit of like a father figure. Like, if you really watch his character, I mean, he's like kind of like guiding them to say like, okay, Jimmy, you're all about like what's going on with you and your girlfriend. Like, he subtly makes remarks that shows you that, Jimmy and Faye are really not that good together as a couple. And it really should be Faye and they call him Spartacus or whatever, Guy Patterson. Yep. Mm-hmm. And they really should be together because of they mesh well, their personalities. It's just something that he notices. Also, too, it's just he can also see Guy Patterson's love for music versus Jimmy's love for writing the songs. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's why I love his character so much, even though he's not in the movie that much. When he is in the movie, you can see how he's kind of subtly helping to guide them through this big fame that came out of nowhere.
I don't see that. I see a guy who sees them as assets to be strung, and then when it's time for them to pay, which is at the end of the movie, and it doesn't go the way he wants, he just walks out. If he is that if he is that type of father figure, that to me, if he is that type of father figure, he would try a little bit harder to make that work, which he just didn't. And it was clear by the end he did not like Jimmy at all. That he was not thrilled.
Nobody really did.
Yeah, he was not thrilled with dealing with Jimmy. So he let him walk at that point. But But he also teaches them that, like, this happens all the time, right? Like, this is nothing new with a young band, up-and-coming band that has a one-hit wonder, right? That's like what he said to them. You guys are one-hit wonders. And this is like the telltale story of you become famous and then the band breaks up and then everybody goes their separate ways and does their own thing. Like, he was almost like trying to tell them this in a subtle way. But I don't know. I just really liked his character. I think it's odd for Tom Hanks, especially at the time, to play a character that wasn't... I guess you liked him. I didn't find him particularly likable, but I thought Tom Hanks was fine in it because Tom Hanks didn't really have to do much other than wear a suit and tell them what to do in this. So,
well, yeah, and then like if you're watching and there's a scene where he's, they're at a concert, at a show, they're playing live, and he's walking around. It almost looks like he's kind of patrolling the area, and the crowd's going wild. And he takes his hands and he like makes like almost like a gesture to the beat of the music. It just shows that like he's into it. You know what I mean? Like he really likes the people that he's representing. And like, I don't know, that's how I take it. And when I was young, I watched this movie with my dad, and my dad's like, wow, like he's really into this song. Like it's just, I don't know. I feel like he's very good at being all business, but he also does care for them to a point, So like another example, so there's a point where the bass player, who doesn't have a name, says, I'm going to be leaving the band in August to go join, the army. Mm-hmm. And there's a point where they're leaving to go on stage to do a performance, and he gives Guy Patterson his shades because that's his trademark. And then he looks at the bass player and he says, "In you, Semper Fi." Yeah. And you know what Semper Fi means, right?
Of course. It's
a motto of the United States Marine Corps. So it's like he has an interest in them, and he somewhat cares about them. Like he knows what their goals are and what they want to do. You know what I mean? Like, does he really like do a ton to help them? Not really, but he shows interest in them.
He shows interest. Okay. I guess unless you want to add to this, we'll dive off from here. I think he shows enough interest to where it is to his benefit. Because to be quite honest with you, when you care about somebody, you care about them past the point of what it benefits you, and to a certain extent. And at no point did I feel like Mr. White at any point, if these kids did not benefit him at some point, that he would be there. And I think he proved it at the end, where
he did walk out, but again, I mean, he's in a contract, so I guess I can agree with you on that, but I think there are subtle things that I think you're missing in the film that show that he cares a little bit more than you think he does.
I'm getting what you're talking about, but I think it's more of somebody who is manipulating the situation more than it is somebody who's showing they care.
Yeah, maybe.
Because when you manage people, and I think you're a manager of sorts as well, when you manage people, you do have to manage them in the way that makes them comfortable with what you're
working with you.
Yeah. So, like, for example, if you know somebody is a religious person and is all about God and everything, you don't want to talk about things that's going to upset their nature. Like that. There's nothing to me in the film that, aside from where it benefits him, that he cares about these kids. Like, I don't see the father figure angle that you're seeing, to be absolutely honest. But okay, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, like I see it to a point, but but then when you argue it that way, I can also see that side of it too, where maybe he is just trying to be trying to be likable to these kids just to get through this contract with them, essentially. Yeah. So I guess I can see both points, but there's just little hints in there that I notice. But changing the subject, I think it's really funny how Guy Patterson is always saying, like, I am Spartacus, and he has, like, a drum solo that he created for himself that's, called I Am Spartacus. And I was like, okay, now I have to Google and look up what I Am Spartacus really means, like, the actual definition of it.
It's a pro movie.
Yeah, I've never really looked up the definition of that.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was from Spartacus, the Kirk Douglas movie that was directed by Stanley Kubrick. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's the final line of the movie that it has a great deal of meaning at the end of the movie. But yeah, I got it, but I was also like, what does that mean in the context of the movie? So I was like, all right, whatever.
It just means like he's the ringleader. Like, he is the person. He's your leader. That's how I took it.
Maybe I was thinking about it too deeply. I
think so. I think he's just like, I'm kind of directing the ship here, because if you watch the movie, like, Mr. White goes to Guy for everything. If you're watching the movie, you see he goes to him for everything. So he's like, I am Spartacus. I led you here, type of deal. I thought before we jumped on tonight, we talked about how Bryan Cranston's in the movie. I thought that was pretty funny,
Yes.
and how young he looked. I was like, oh my god.
Yes. It is interesting that Tom Hanks is Mr. White, and Bryan Cranston played Mr. White, but Bryan Cranston played a astronaut, and Tom Hanks played an astronaut in Apollo 13.
I liked Apollo 13. That's a good movie.
Yeah, that was a very good movie. Absolutely, that's another movie I gotta watch.
Yeah,
good Ed Harris performance that gets that doesn't get talked about. But that's a great movie.
Well, I mean, at the end, who gets the girl? Right? That's the big. I mean, it's not really the big spoiler. I mean,
yeah, like Jimmy is an asshole to Faye. Okay, here, did Faye actually do what Jimmy accused her of?
No, Guy Patterson did.
Guy Patterson put the fact that he was engaged to Faye.
Yes.
Why do you think that?
Because he could see that he was flirting with other girls, and he felt bad for her.
I don't know about that.
Why? Why do you think? Now I'm curious. I want to hear what your thoughts are on that.
To be quite frank, I don't care either way.
Yeah, but I want to know what you think.
Okay. I guess, all right. I think Faye did do it. I think Faye...
Oh, and then, like, he was covering for her?
I think so, yeah.
Oh.
I maybe.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think... Well, I don't think this is thought about...
theory.
I don't think this is too deep of a mystery, really.
No, but I like hearing what your thoughts are on it.
But I'm guessing on this. There's nothing in the movie that says otherwise that can hint to it. But basically, Faye kind of knew he was losing him, and he was losing him to this hotshot this songstress. I forgot the name of the character. The character.
Yeah.
I think that's what like young girls do sometimes. They get desperate, and then they kind of pressure them into being much more concrete in their love to justify all the time that they've spent with that person, which is what led.
I can see this theory happening because if you think about it, in the movie, Guy steps forward and he doesn't actually say that it was him.
Yeah.
But Jimmy just assumes it was him and gets mad at him. So it's almost like he's protecting Faye because he has feelings for Faye.
Right. Which also, if you remember the last lines of Faye to Jimmy is, I can't believe I wasted all these special kisses on you. Mm-hmm. Which, again, is the feeling of what I think young people, especially young girls, have when they first fall in love, when they fall in love for the first time. Like all these special moments, all these times, all these special things that I've done for you were a waste.
Right.
And I think it makes much more sense that it was Faye who did it and had that. And also dressed up and did all this like stuff to make the moment special.
That's true. That's true. And you can kind of see it on her face when she's watching the showcase. Mm-hmm. Like she's in the audience watching, almost like kind of nervous, like, oh, he's gonna know that I did that type of deal, you know. And yeah, I agree with you on that theory. Yeah,
but then again, like, I mean, they made it so obvious as to what's gonna happen with these characters. I mean, this is it's another standard thing with movies about fame, where the famous person ends up at some point rejecting the people that supported them along the way, and that's kind of standard with these types of movies. So I didn't like the fact that Guy and her hooked up after. I'm like, just let Faye go. Like,
you didn't?
I didn't. But then again,
I liked it. I thought that they were really good together because throughout the movie they joke around, they talk, they're just very playful with each other. So I could see why that happened. Right.
Another standard thing that happens in these movies. Like when there's a
it's too predictable for you, right?
I think that's what it is, yeah. And Liv Tyler is just not that dynamic of an actress to give the character more pop for me to actually want to root for in this. And neither does Tom Everett Scott. I think they're kind of milquetoast to a certain extent. So I thought they're fine, but like not enough to interest me in them being together.
Like it's just kind of cute. It's not anything more than
that.
Like okay, it's cute.
It's cute on the
end up together.
It's cute on the surface, but no substance behind it.
Exactly.
Okay.
They'll probably be broken up in a week.
No, but if you read the another thing that I thought was
at the end I'm like, this isn't a true story.
I know, but that's the trope. That's the it is a sent up trope of these types of movies where they at the end it goes, and Barry did this at the end. He now lives in this place. Like I'm like, that's a little unnecessary, but okay, fine, cool, I guess. Like who cares at this point? But yeah, whatever. But yeah,
you crack me up.
Yeah,
you're like, whatever.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't think too deeply about this movie. So when you started talking about it, I was like, yeah, I guess. but to me, there's not much bones or depth there, or meat or depth, to really have these elaborate conversations. Because in the end, to me, it's just we're making it about what we think of the situation more than what the movie lends to us.
Right.
I'll go first on final thoughts. That Thing You Do is a movie that I got to be honest with you, until you mentioned it, I've forgotten completely about. And I watched it for the first time in like 96, 97, and I liked it, but I don't think my opinion of it has changed. It's fun. It's breezy. It's a decent movie that has a catchy tune to it, and it's got some decent performances. But other than that, it's a curiosity at best about a very famous actor who decided to have a pet project, and that was it. I think this is more of a trivia question to a lot of people. I think. To a certain extent, they'll say, "Oh, what is your favorite Tom Hanks movie?" And they'll say, "Forrest Gump." But did you know he directed the movie? And like that's what I think That Thing You Do is essentially is going to be for the end of time at this point. But it's a fine movie. It's fun. It's a good way to kill 2 hours, I would say. But anything more than that, it's kind of standard at this point. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. Oh, you know what? I'll give it 3 stars. I'll give it a 3-star rating.
Wow.
It's fine. It is fun. It's enjoyable. I definitely like Steven Zahn in this movie as the highlight. But other than that, like I could see in like a few months I'll forget about this movie again. Until I guess you remind me in a conversation. I remember That Thing You Do. Like, oh yeah, right. And then that's it. So 3 stars for That Thing You Do.
Awesome. I'm surprised. I thought you were going to give it less.
Why? I like the movie. I just don't think it's like...
Because you were telling me how much you were just like, I don't really care for this one.
It's not I don't care for it. It's just like when we get into like in-depth things about it.
I just think you don't really care about it. Like you're kind of like,
But that's fair. I mean,
it is fair. It is very fair. I agree.
Like I can say like it's fine. It is a fine. Yeah. Like me and Zero did Tenet this week, and I felt the same exact way. It's fine. It is a fun movie that is enjoyable by just sitting there and enjoying it. But anything more, anything less, there's nothing else to it.
Well, I also give this a 3-star rating, and
what?
Yeah, I mean. It's not like my favorite movie. I think when I think like watching it for a second time, or I shouldn't say second, probably like 4 or 5th time around, and as an older individual, I look at it as a PG rated movie that's family friendly. You could watch this with your kids because there's no violence in it. There's no sex. I mean, there's very, very limited swearing. So if you're looking for a movie that is just something you can watch for like a family fun night, like then this is the movie for you. Like you can watch this with your kids or your preteens, right? I just enjoyed it. It makes me laugh. It gives me joy. And it's a kind of a quick watch for me. Like even though it says it's 2 hours long, it definitely doesn't feel 2 hours long, right? It probably feels about an hour and a half, if that. And I think that the performances were good. I mean, for what it was, I thought they were really well done. And I mean, I'm sure it's hard trying to act as a singer or a drummer or a bassist, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think overall they did a really good job with it, from a character and an acting standpoint. Again, I don't really think it has much depth either. That's why I gave it a 3-star. You know, if you're looking for something to kind of perk you up, make you happy, a catchy tune that you can sing along to, then this is the movie for you.
Yeah, it's a fun kind of distraction, I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Okay. So 3 stars for you, 3 stars for me. I was kind of surprised because you kind of made me think that this is one of your favorite movies, and here you are like, yeah, it's okay. I'm like, okay.
It's one of my like most memorable movies as a kid. Like again, like, and my husband loves it too. So we quote it all the time. You know, we quote Lenny's character like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's just funny and it's fun.
Okay.
You know? And again, like you said, that's where Steve Zahn comes into play, where he really does make the movie.
Yeah, that's true. I think one of my most memorable movies as a kid in high school it would be Fight Club, but as younger I was probably going to be Wayne's World. And
yes.
Wayne's World's a tough watch now because of just how meme culture is nowadays. But
I know.
Because what made Wayne's World very unique at the time is now like, oh, so just doing memes throughout the entire movie. It's like, oh shit, that's right.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah. Different now.
3 stars for That Thing You Do, and 3 for both me and Kim.